Hi team, today I'll be walking you through my infographic, The Modern Space Race, Who's Dominating Today's Space Industry. I'll explain some of my design choices, visual principles I applied, and how these work to form a story from the data. This infographic aims to highlight changes in the modern space race over the last decade, from competition between countries and various space agencies to the private sector becoming a major player in the global stage. The layout follows a logical progression, starting with who's launched the most rockets, moving on to who's spent the most, next the rise of private industry, and a look at future missions. Some of the visual choices I made. First we have proximity, which is the idea that grouping related elements together creates a sense of organization. I applied this by keeping the title and subtitle together, and that grouping data with related supporting text, such as the graphs about finance with text about NASA's annual budget, and the graphics about the private industry with the text about how the modern space race has transcended countries to the private industry becoming a major player. Next we have alignment, which is the concept that elements are visually connected and structured in a way which is easy to follow. I use center alignment with elements balanced on either side to create a center divide, which makes things easy to follow. I chose a complementary color scheme following the 60-30-10 rule. The 60-30-10 rule is a color scheme where 60% is the main color, 30% is the secondary, and 10% is an accent. I used black as the background as my main color, light blue for the text as the secondary, and yellow and red as accents, such as the flames on the various graphs. And this creates contrast and keeps the infographic visually balanced. Next we have typography, which is about selecting and arranging fonts to make the graphic more readable and consistent. I used basically two variations of the same font, one with bold for the titles and the main points, and then regular for the main body text to keep things consistent and easy to read. What data display choices did I make? First, I chose a bar graph, which uses rockets with flames to represent the number of space launches per country over the last decade. I designed the graph to be visually engaging while effectively communicating a large amount of information at a glance. For spending, I used a pie chart to show each country's budget over the last 10 years with easy-to-read percentages. I also included a line graph comparing NASA's budget with Boeing and SpaceX, and this shows how Boeing and SpaceX have surpassed or are overtaking NASA in their budgets. For an isotype, I created a visual with 4 out of 5 rockets highlighted, and this represents how SpaceX has accounted for roughly 78% of all of the US space launches in 2022. This reinforces the shift towards private industry in a simple way. Some of the peer feedback that I got, which helped me to create a stronger infographic, was my lack of an isotype, so I made sure to include that and rearrange some of the text for better readability. In conclusion, this infographic tells a story starting with the number of launches and budgets by various countries in the past, talking about how that compares to NASA's annual budget, and that leads into this idea of the private sector overtaking NASA here in the United States, and points towards a future layout of various missions we can expect to see here in the future. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please send me an email.